A World Cup final ends the same way most of them do. A winning team celebrates. A losing team walks away heartbroken. Then, everyone moves on. That is not what happened after Spain beat Argentina in East Rutherford, New Jersey, on July 19, 2026. What happened instead was a brawl. Players grabbing each other. A player thrown to the ground. Red cards, yellow cards, and eventually, real disciplinary charges from FIFA itself. And weeks later, a second story arrived. Not a highlight. Not a replay. A warning. Caught on camera, from inside the match, before any of it happened. This is the story of that warning, and why nobody stopped it in time. World Cup finals are supposed to be football's cleanest showcase. The best players, the biggest stage, the whole planet watching. When that showcase ends in players throwing punches, it isn't just a bad look for one team. It changes how people remember the whole tournament. A brawl after the final whistle can end up mattering more than anything that happened in the previous 120 minutes. That's exactly what's happened here. A team that reached the biggest match in the sport is now remembered less for its play and more for suspensions, fines, and a very public conversation about self-control. To understand how a proud football nation ended up here, you have to go back to the match itself, and to a piece of technology nobody had really seen up close before. Spain and Argentina met in the final at MetLife Stadium. It went to extra time. Spain's Ferran Torres settled it in the second period of extra time, giving Spain their second World Cup title since 2010. For Argentina, a team that had gone into the tournament with Lionel Messi chasing one more piece of glory, it was a brutal way to lose. Refereeing the match was Slavko Vincic, a Slovenian official with a serious resume. He'd taken charge of the 2024 Champions League final between Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, and he'd refereed Spain at Euro 2024 too. This World Cup final, it later emerged, was going to be his last match before retirement. FIFA had also equipped him with something new, a head-mounted camera system called RefCam, tested first at the Club World Cup and rolled out fully for this tournament. The idea was simple. Give fans the referee's own point of view. Show them what an official actually sees and hears during a match. For most of the tournament, that meant fairly routine clips. Then, in mid-August, FIFA released a longer cut from the final itself, and it turned out the referee had heard something worth paying attention to. Three figures sit at the center of this story. Lionel Messi, Argentina's captain, playing what was expected to be his last World Cup match. Widely respected, including by the officials around him. Leandro Paredes, a defensive midfielder who came on at halftime and was booked for a rough foul just 6 minutes later. And Vincic himself, an experienced referee trying to manage an increasingly tense match in the biggest game of his career, on the night he was about to walk away from the sport for good. Their interactions during the match are what the new footage actually captures. The released footage opens gently. In the tunnel before kickoff, Messi is warm with the Spanish players, embracing opponents, shaking hands with officials. It's the kind of moment you'd expect before any final. Once the game starts, the tone shifts. Vincic can be heard repeatedly telling Argentina players to calm down, using phrases like "last one," as fouls pile up. This was already, on the officials' side, a match that needed constant managing. Then comes the moment everyone has focused on. Paredes, already on a yellow card, is involved in another confrontation. Vincic turns to Messi and says it plainly, "Control Paredes, please." Messi answers, "I try." Vincic isn't satisfied with a one-time effort. He tells him it needs to be constant, always. It's a short exchange. But it tells you the referee wasn't reacting to a single incident. He was worried about a pattern, and he thought the team's own captain was his best chance of managing it. Later in the match, Argentina's Enzo Fernandez is sent off for a second bookable offense, reducing his team to 10 men before the winning goal is even scored. Then the final whistle blows. Spain has won. And within moments, the match tips over into violence. Paredes strikes Spain's Eric Garcia in the throat with an open hand, knocking him down. He and teammate Thiago Almada then push Spain's Gavi to the ground. Players and coaching staff from both sides rush in to separate everyone. None of this is speculation. FIFA's own disciplinary process has confirmed the sequence. Paredes, Molina, and Almada were charged with assault or unsporting conduct following an independent investigation. FIFA's disciplinary committee later handed down bans: 10 matches for Paredes, 7 for Molina, 1 for Almada, alongside 6-figure fines. Spain's Gavi received a 1-match ban as well. Argentina's federation was separately fined for other incidents during the tournament, including a political banner displayed after the semi-final and discriminatory chanting from fans. FIFA described the Paredes ban as being among the most severe punishments in World Cup history, on par with the suspension handed to Luis Suarez back in 2014. So the punishment side of this story was never in doubt. What the RefCam footage added, weeks later, was context. It showed that the referee had flagged the danger before it happened, directly to the one player most likely to be able to stop it. A referee asking a captain to manage a teammate isn't unusual by itself. It happens in games every week and rarely makes headlines. What made this different is the phrasing and the timing of the release. Always isn't a request about one tackle. It reads like an official who had been watching a problem build for most of the match and wanted it watched constantly, not just once. And the fact that this warning surfaced only after the brawl had already happened, and after FIFA had already handed out its bans, gave the footage an almost prophetic quality. People weren't just watching a warning. They were watching a warning that came true. That combination, an accurate prediction plus real consequences, is why the clip spread so quickly once it was released. It's worth being fair about what the footage does and doesn't prove. On one hand, it's easy to see this as damning. A team that couldn't control one of its own players even after a direct appeal from its own captain, on the sport's biggest stage. On the other hand, defenders of Argentina and of Messi point out real mitigating factors. Paredes actually did avoid a second yellow card during the match itself. Whatever Messi said to him worked while the game was still live. It was only after the final whistle, when the result was final and there was nothing left to play for, that things boiled over. That's a different story than a captain failing to lead. It's closer to a captain succeeding for 90+ minutes, and then losing that grip in the one moment emotions became impossible to manage. It's also worth remembering that Vincic's footage was released by FIFA, edited by FIFA, and stops well short of showing the brawl itself. It shows the build-up, not the incident. And the disciplinary process, independent investigation, formal charges, appeals, bans, has already run its course through proper channels. The clip is supporting context, not the verdict. Some Spanish fans, watching the same footage, reacted differently still, reading extra warmth toward Messi and Vincic's tone as a sign of favoritism. FIFA and independent observers have pushed back on that reading, noting that game management directed at a captain is standard practice, not preferential treatment. Whatever angle you take, the practical outcome for Argentina has been severe. A 10-match ban for Paredes amounts to roughly a year away from the national team, given FIFA's international calendar. 7 matches for Molina. Fines for the players and for the federation. A stadium capacity restriction for Argentina's next home fixture. And a story about the 2026 World Cup that, for Argentina at least, is increasingly remembered for its ending rather than its football. For Vincic, the final match of his refereeing career ended with a strange kind of vindication. Spain's Dani Olmo, still in the middle of his own title celebrations, stopped to tell him he'd done a great job, then congratulated him on his career once he learned it was Vincic's last match. Minutes later, the same referee stood on the podium as Gianni Infantino and a lineup of world leaders, including the King of Spain, took part in the medal ceremony. One official spent the night trying to prevent a collapse. He said so, on tape, to the one man capable of stopping it. It happened anyway, but only after the final whistle, when the game itself no longer needed defending. Paredes, Molina, and the Argentine Federation still have paths to appeal parts of FIFA's rulings. Their cases will keep moving through football's disciplinary system for months to come. For the sport more broadly, this whole episode has turned into an unplanned advertisement for RefCam itself. It was built to bring fans closer to the game. Nobody expected its most talked about moment to be a referee predicting a meltdown before it happened, and being right. Whether that changes how FIFA uses the technology going forward, or how much of a referee's in-match communication ends up public, is still an open question. What's already clear is that this particular piece of footage did something raw highlight reels rarely manage. It didn't just show what happened. It showed that someone saw it coming,